Thank you so much. Thank you for that warm welcome. Did everyone have a good lunch? Real excited for the afternoon? Yeah. Perfect. Well, I like that loud yes. It means you got some coffee into you at lunchtime, which is awesome. So we're going to fly through this session. I am the biggest LinkedIn nerd ever, and I could talk about this all day. Morgan didn't let me. So we're going to fly through, and we're going to have a powerhouse session together. Would that be okay? Did we have coffee? Yes? Okay, great. So let me ask you, I'm going to make the assumption that we're all here to grow our business. Give me a nod. Yeah. So would it be okay if we grew our business, we were able to hit our revenue goals in our business, but if we could do that with working with less clients? Less clients that paid us a more premium rate. Would that be okay? So instead of having to go out there reaching thousands and thousands and thousands of people, we could scoop up a handful of the right people that paid us a premium rate, were a joy to work with, and we had a great business and a great life. Would that be okay? Awesome. All right. Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into this afternoon. So a couple of warnings for you. I have a 2-year-old daughter at home. She's really, really sweet. She's so sweet that she actually brought home from daycare a little bit of a daycare lurgy this week. That's how sweet she is. And so you'll probably hear it in my voice. It's not 100%. Is that all right? Are we all going to be able to cope? If I need to cough or grab a bit of water, I figured we're all adults and we're all going to survive. Yes or yes? Perfect. Okay. So the other thing you're probably picking up already is that I'm completely biased when it comes to LinkedIn working in your business. So I can totally appreciate that some of you might be brand new to LinkedIn. Some of you might have been using the platform for a while in various degrees. I'm very, very biased that LinkedIn is a platform that works just because it works for myself and the clients that we work with. So my job here today is not to try and convince you that it is the one and only platform for your business. However, would it be okay if I shared a little insight in terms of what's working on the platform right now so that you can choose that for yourself? Would that be all right? Beautiful. So would be really good to start off with who's actually using LinkedIn. So the way we're going to do this right now is I want you to put your hand up. Already some high achievers in the room. Hands right up if you are already using LinkedIn. So we have a profile. We have a LinkedIn profile. We remembered our login details. All right? Well done. Now keep your hand up if you are active on LinkedIn. So you are sharing content, you are engaging with other people, you are active on LinkedIn. So let's say in the last 30 days, you've at least logged on, you've made some sort of interaction. All right. Now keep your hand up if you have been sharing content every single week and you're consistently getting clients from the platform. All right. So just make a note in the room. We're going to come back to that later. There's no right or wrong. It's just to get a gauge. Now the good news is no matter where you dropped your hand, whatever we go through today and the 3 stages I'll take you through is going to support you, whether you're getting started, you've just remembered your login details, or if you've been using it for your business, but it just hasn't quite clicked into place when it comes to leads yet. All right, so this was me and my first ever post that I did on LinkedIn. Now, this was a video. It took me 6 hours, 2 minutes to film the video, and 5 hours and 58 minutes to build up the courage to hit post. When I first got started on LinkedIn, I was extremely worried about being judged. I was scared about what people would think about me, whether I was going to feel smart enough or, have the wrong opinion or, anything like that, right? I was worried about what my ex-colleagues were going to think. So when I left my corporate job and I had a corporate role in executive recruitment, my whole role was very much behind the scenes. I would call myself a LinkedIn lurker because that's exactly what I was. I would headhunt CEOs behind the scenes on LinkedIn and I would reach out to them, but I didn't share anything publicly. I wasn't this content creator online. I didn't have the fanciest profile, but I was using LinkedIn every day in that context to work with CEOs. And so when it came to starting my own business, the first business that I launched was a career coaching business. And this is how I launched my business. I built up the courage in 5 hours and 58 minutes to hit post on my first LinkedIn post because I knew people needed to know that I exist. And I also knew that it was most likely that some of my best, most premium level clients were already on LinkedIn. I just had to get in front of the way of opportunity. And so I hit post, and from that post, you can see there's a bit of engagement, it's a bit blurry. There's, over almost 300 likes, over 100 comments. And that's all nice, to feel popular. But what's nicer is those engagements actually turned into my first few clients. And I was then able to go on and quit my corporate job within 12 weeks and never looked back. And so the reality that we're in right now is that there is huge opportunity on the platform, but there are a lot of people who are highly skeptical, and we have a really low level of trust. So if you're someone that's working with what I call a premium client, and just to define that, what we're looking at here is, Morgan took us through some really great exercises around really getting clear on who our ICP is. And if we were able to drill down further into that, and we were going to look at the top 20% of those clients, the ones that show up, are committed, that pay you the most, that pay you on time, that get great results, that get great transformations, that tell all of their friends in business, they're the premium clients that we want to go after. Now, what happens is if you're working in quite sophisticated markets, a lot of people are getting pitched to every single day. So if you're working with high-level decision makers, they're getting pitch slapped every single day, okay? Now, I love that people do this on LinkedIn because I'm a little bit weird. I love this because the bar is set so low, right? What happens is, has anyone ever received one of these messages, by the way? Just show of hands on the platform? Yeah. What tends to happen, right, is when we receive a message like this, we go, oh, that feels a bit icky. That feels a bit salesy. Then we have this story in our head that goes, well, I don't want to be that. Has anyone ever thought that before? All right. And so what happens is most people do nothing. Okay. But I love it when people pitch slap me because I'm weird. We've already established this. But I love it because it shows me how many people are doing it the wrong way on LinkedIn. And for the ones that are showing up in the right way, there is so much opportunity to stand out for all the right reasons. Okay. So what we're going to go through today is actually 9 key core focus areas if you want to build a really profitable, sustainable business using LinkedIn. But we're going to focus on the top 3 right now within LinkedIn, really focused around getting clients and really starting to attract and convert those premium level clients. All right, that top 20%. So I'm not going to go through my story and much about me today. We've got a limited amount of time. But I thought it was just useful to bring up a little bit of context because I didn't just wake up yesterday and decide to teach LinkedIn. I have personally generated over $1.2 million in coaching sales through the platform. It does not include referrals. It doesn't include other channels. I have advised CEOs of $100 million companies and been doing this for quite some time as well. So what I'm actually teaching today comes from practice, not just theory. All right, doing the doing. Now, is everyone here to actually apply what they're learning, not just learn? Yep, I would hope so, all right? Because in today's world, it's not just what we actually learn. It's not the information. It's the insight and the implementation, all right? And so since my scared video that took me 6 hours, I've built up over 30,000 connections on the platform, and I love it, genuinely. I really love helping people to grow their business using LinkedIn. But I don't spend my whole life on the platform. She's now 2. This is an older photo of little Miss. I don't spend every single waking hour on LinkedIn. We go on quarterly overseas trips. I run my business in 3 days a week with a team of 3. And we have a really good, work-life balance if you want to believe in work-life balance. I think of it more as work-life integration. But that's what life is like. So these strategies that we go through, not you sitting on the computer for 8 hours a day on LinkedIn. All right, would that be okay? I don't think many of us went into business to become a full-time content creator. All right, so here's a few key things that I can see that keeps most people stuck on LinkedIn. So in the interest of time, I'm not going to go through all of these, but I want you to have a think, and I want you to have a look at the numbers here. So a couple are, we just don't know the strategy. we don't know actually what works on LinkedIn. So if we're going to do something, we want to make sure that our efforts are actually being rewarded with an ROI. Okay, so with real business results and a return on our investment, both in time, energy, money, whatever it is in business. So sometimes we just don't have the strategy because what works on other platforms doesn't necessarily translate across to LinkedIn. Maybe you were like me and you were secretly scared, right? Anyone brave enough to put the hand up and admit sometimes we're a little bit afraid to put ourselves out there in business? Yeah, that's really normal. That's really normal. But we don't want to stay in that zone, all right? We want to be able to move through that. Now, I just want for you, there's a couple, usually there's sort of 2 or 3 that might resonate with you, just write it down on your piece of paper. What's that number for you? Might be a couple, right? 1 to 10. What's that number for you? All right. And so for Cornell, he was highly skeptical of LinkedIn working for him. He's a finance guy, so marketing just isn't his thing. He's a CFO. He actually outsourced his entire marketing strategy. He brought on an agency. He paid $4,000 a month. After 4 months, how many leads and clients do you think he attracted in that 4 months? 0. Big fat donut. And so when he reached out to me, he was a little bit lost because he felt like he tried all the things before and things just weren't clicking into place. And he also identified that, he just wasn't a marketing guy. Like finance was his thing. And so when we actually worked out the right strategy for him, when we got LinkedIn working in the business, he went from 6 months of conversations that used to take him to land a client to less than 6 weeks. All right. Why do you think that is? Give me a couple of ideas. Just yell out a random name. What do we think? Know, like, trust. Exactly. Right? Marketing. And doing your marketing really well and applying it to the right place at the right time on the platform as well. Okay. So let's talk about how we can do that for you. Let's talk about what your LinkedIn pipeline looks like at the moment and how we can start to get some more premium clients. So the first key that we want to think about is we want to align your profile to your premium clients only. Now, when I talk about niching down, and I can say niching because we're in Sydney, I don't have to say niching like in the US, but if I talk about niching down and we talk about just going after one avatar, and not just one avatar, but actually pulling that top 20% of your avatar, what's the instant feeling that we get? If I tell you to go even more narrow in on your market, what does that bring up for you? Someone in the room? Speciality. Speciality? Yes? Yep. Does it feel good or does it feel hard? Hard? Yeah. Because it's counterintuitive. Most people think if we go onto a platform, we need to try to appeal to everyone. But the truth is, in order to be on LinkedIn these days, the more specific you can be, the more you're going to stand out. Okay? The more specific you can be, the more you're going to stand out. So there are 3 key things when it comes to your LinkedIn profile that are really important. Now, people on LinkedIn now have 6 seconds before they will decide whether they're going to swipe away from your profile and jump onto someone else's, like a competitor. And so I've just got mine up there as an example, but there are 3 key things that we want to think about in those first 6 seconds. All right. So the first is we want to make sure we're connecting. We want to make sure we have a connection point with our ideal clients, and not just any client, but those top premium clients, okay? You can see that through my headline. I've called out some very specific keywords, okay? We also want to make sure that they can see that we're credible instantly. They don't need to scroll down and read further. They can see that from the start. So visuals are usually a really, really good way to do this. When you have a visual cover image like this on LinkedIn, your profile will typically get viewed 21 times more than someone else that doesn't have visuals up the top. Okay, so we want to make sure that they can see that we're credible. We also want a very easy way that in 6 seconds, which is not a lot of time, right? Just count in your head. Okay? We want to make sure that we've got a really easy way to take people on that next step. So mine, as an example, is my LinkedIn blueprint there, encouraging people to go down below to the profile to access that. All right. And so for you, if you think about your credibility, how you can make someone feel like you're creating a human connection in that first 6 seconds, and what's that one step that you want people to do? We want to make sure that is up in the top section of your LinkedIn profile. Is this useful so far? Yep. Okay, perfect. So the big idea here is we want our profile to do the heavy lifting. This was a couple of years ago, and this was pre-kids where I had more of a life. We used to go over trips. My fiance at the time, now hubby, was heading over to Singapore for work. Because I run my business remotely, I was like, I'm coming to join you. So we headed over to Singapore. Before that happened, I received this message in my LinkedIn inbox. Now, this is from Kirsten. Kirsten and I had never met before. She was not referred to me. She just reached out of the blue one day and just asked if I did some LinkedIn trainings. I said yes. We jumped on a quick 15-minute call. And then she paid the invoice while I was up in the air, and that paid for the whole entire trip. And so the reason I share that is like not to brag or anything like that, but just to show you that there are opportunities on LinkedIn that come out of the blue, but you have to be showing up in a way that is credible, makes that human connection with people, and gives them an easy way to contact you. All right. When we're talking about our premium level clients, it's really important we use their language. We use their language in our profile. So a big mistake that I see a lot of business owners making is they treat their LinkedIn profile like a CV. Now, I was in recruitment for many years. I've recruited hundreds, if not thousands of people. And I can tell you that your LinkedIn profile has to be very, very different to a CV. All right, your CV is about what you did in the past. Your LinkedIn profile is what you're doing now and in the future as well. So you want to bring people along that journey with you. So Lisa, as an example here, when she had her profile, there was a couple of things that we picked up, and she was targeting business owners who were ready to create boards. And so what we actually worked out was that she was talking very generally about business owners. Now, is it true that we have a lot of business owners here in the room, and not every one of you are considering to bring on a board, right, at the level or type of business that you're running? And so after a couple of tweaks of her profile of using the exact language that her clients did, and changing her profile from a CV into now more of a landing page. Your LinkedIn profile should be more of a sales page to bring people along that journey. She landed a $50,000 contract within 24 hours of making those changes. Coincidence or not? I don't know. You can decide. But that's what we're talking about. So thinking about for you, like what is the specific language that your premium clients talk about? If you're in the sales space, if you're in helping them to create more sales, are they talking about building their team to create more sales and freeing up their time? Or are they talking about just getting better at closing? Right? There's a big difference in terms of the size of businesses that you're targeting and the types of problems that are going to be attractive for them. Right? Is this landing so far? Yep. Awesome. So the key number 2, when we think about starting to put ourselves out on the platform, starting to create content specifically for LinkedIn, is we want to create signal, not noise. Okay? Now, we are in the world of AI, as we know, with all of the great things that we can do. But it's really, really important that we're actually signaling our market and we're not just putting out AI content for the sake of it. All right? Just because it's quick doesn't mean it's great. So the thing that we want to think about is we want to have all of those tools, all of those strategies, everything at our disposal to go faster without losing sight of our own insight along the way. All right, so it's using AI as the powerhouse, but it's really about signaling to your ideal clients that you are the one for them, okay? So I was actually on a meeting last week with LinkedIn HQ, and I was one of 18 people globally invited to this meeting where they were talking about some of the algorithm changes. They were talking about what they're actually looking for now on the feed. And I'm happy to share a couple of those things with you, but can we all keep a secret? Because I know this is recorded, but I might get in trouble. So are we all okay to keep a secret? Please give me some confidence. Okay, great. So one of the things that they were talking about is they're really putting a lot of money in stamping out a lot of bad actors on the platform. So automated comments, automated things as well. So LinkedIn leans towards really having that human touch. And the way that they described it was they want you to have conversations with your market on the platform that feel like you were just having a conversation with a colleague at work, or you were having a conversation with someone else that you met like in an in-person networking event, right? Who had some conversations out there at lunch? Would hope so, right? We're here to connect. And so LinkedIn love that. They love genuine conversations, whether it be in the DMs or whether it be on your feed in your content as well. So the algorithm is actually shifting towards filtering out AI-generated content that is purely AI, like this is not any edits or anything like that. We can all tell the difference with that, right? The AI content, yep. So this is why we want to add our own signal, our own insight on top of AI to get through the way that LinkedIn is now pushing out content. All right, is that useful? Yes or yes? Okay. Because the truth is there's over 1 billion users on the platform right now, but globally only 4% produce content consistently, and only 1% of those people are producing content consistently each and every week. So remember at the beginning when I got you all to raise your hand and we kind of did a process of elimination of who's using LinkedIn? When I looked around the room, those stats are kind of standing up, even in this room. We had like a really small handful of people that are on the platform every single week. And we had a few, as we started to go, that dropped off along the way. And so what does this mean for you? When you hear a statistic about this with LinkedIn, just yell it out. What does this bring to mind? Opportunity. Yep, absolutely, absolutely. So you need to have the right strategy. You need to have the right structure. But 10 years ago on any of the platforms, you could do a half-written draft post, you could accidentally sneeze and hit post, and it could still go viral. But now, because there's so much noise on the platform, we need to be a little bit more sophisticated with how we show up. But when we do show up consistently, you can get rewarded for that. Okay, making sense? Beautiful. So this is an example of Sophie, and this is an example of being really specific to stand out. So Sophie is an executive coach, but she's just not an executive coach to everyone. She works with female leaders within organizations within the hospitality and tourism space. Now, because she's so specific with her market and because she shares signal around that in her content, and she's not just putting out content for the sake of it, she's putting out very targeted content to that market, LinkedIn actually picked up one of her posts and shared it across their platforms, which, as you can see here, got put in front of almost 4 million followers. She stood out instantly overnight. For Sophie, this landed her a few clients. She went and worked with a hotel in the Maldives, one in Bali. She had a family holiday off the back of that, and that's what she does with her life. So does that sound like a good life to be living in your business? A few holidays along the way? This is Leo. So who here works with like very locally based clients or customers? Like who's geographically confined? Anyone? Yep. So Leo works up in Gosford. He's a business advisor up there. He landed 20 clients in 20 weeks through LinkedIn because he was hyper specific. So if you work locally, this can actually work really, really well. The features that you can target on LinkedIn, you can target people's job titles, you can target their location, you can target the level of seniority between their companies as well. So instead of the spray and pray approach, you can actually just get like a laser and you can laser in on who are those top premium clients. Would that be all right? Save you some time that way? Awesome. The next key is really thinking about lurkers are buyers. Lurkers are buyers. If you are targeting high-level decision makers on the platform, so your CEOs, anyone in executive positions, anyone in charge of large budgets, so some of our clients charge 6 or 7 figures for engagements, and they're attracting people on the platform, what you'll find is that those type of buyers won't clap for you publicly, but they will reach out to you privately. All right, so a CEO of those big companies isn't necessarily going to comment on your post and say, great post, smiley face emoji, right? But they will see that post and they'll reach out in the DMs. Okay, so you want to couple the signal that you're putting out there in your marketplace with those conversations in your DMs at the same time. So this is an example that happened with Melvin, exactly that. He's in the project management space. Now, if you look at this post, 16 likes, 6 comments. Who just on face value would say that that was a great post for social media, right? Not many people. And so a lot of people look at that post and just think that it's an absolute flop. But what they didn't know is that post brought in a $300,000 consulting project, because a CEO saw that post, reached out to Melvin in private. They had some conversations naturally to work out that it was a fit, and they started working together. All right, so don't believe everything you see on LinkedIn in terms of engagement. Impressions and high engagement on the platform does not necessarily equal premium clients. All right, is this landing so far? Awesome. So the real key is like 4 out of 5 people on LinkedIn actually influence business decisions. They're in charge of budgets, they're actively looking for solutions. And so just like I did on video at the very start, it's about being brave enough to put yourself in the way of that opportunity and knowing exactly who you're for and who you're not for. All right, which Morgan's done a really great job of taking you through some of those details today. So we should be really, really clear on that. And with LinkedIn, it's taking it that one level up to go, who is that top 20% in my market that are my buyers? All right. So the big picture and the way I think about this is you want to treat LinkedIn and you want to approach LinkedIn like you are an elite sporting team. Okay, whether you're a one-man person in your business, whether you have a team. If you think about any sporting team out there, let's just got basketball here as an example, they will have an offense strategy and a defense strategy. Now, isn't it true that some teams can be like stronger on offense or stronger on defense? We've got any basketball fans in the room here? Yep. Well, just think about like your favorite sporting team. And so if that's the case, in order to win the game, they still need to do both, right? They still need to do both. So what we find on LinkedIn is your profile and your content, that's like your defense strategy. That's like a way that you're there, you're in the way of opportunity, people can search for you, people can find you, you're putting out those signals to the market and you're attracting that market. And then the offense strategy is where you're actively and proactively getting in front of the right decision makers. So LinkedIn has a function called Sales Navigator, which is another way that a lot of businesses use to really pinpoint those decision makers. We don't have time to go through all of that today, but that is a tool that is really, really useful to be on the offense and be proactive about ensuring that your content and your profile is seen by the right buyers. Okay, so when you put this all together, what actually happens is we've got content out there, we've got our profile doing the heavy lifting, we've got a way that people can connect with us on a human level, and they know that we are for them. All right, we are for them. Very specific. We know we're credible, and they know we're credible through what we're sharing and what our profile does. And we've got an easy way to contact. That's how you start to fill up your calendar with ideal prospects and ideal conversations with your market who are the right fit people as well. Okay, so my question to you is, what's holding you back? And what is that really costing you? If you could bolt on LinkedIn as another channel to your marketing, or if you're already using LinkedIn, but you could actually get the clients that you wanted from it, what would that mean for your business in terms of revenue, time, all those fun things? All right. As I said, we've gone quite quickly. This is for you if you just want to go a little bit deeper on some of the points that we've covered today. So scan that QR code, and this is my LinkedIn blueprint. So all of the sections that we talked about today around really aligning your profile, starting to accelerate your brand with content, and then really starting to amplify your results by getting in front of the right high-level decision makers. Download that guide, and that's going to really support you. All right. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for your time. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.